Imagine this for a second. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You get up early. You put in the hours. You pay the bills. You try to be patient when the world feels loud and expensive and distracted. You try to be the steady one, the guy who keeps the wheels on. And then you look at the numbers. A normal 3-bedroom house costs more than a year of pay. In a lot of places, not a mansion, not a dream home, a basic functional place where kids can have their own rooms and you can close a door when you need 5 minutes of quiet. Schools feel crowded. Daycare feels like a second mortgage. Neighborhoods feel less predictable. And somewhere along the way, providing turned into a constant negotiation. How many hours? How many sacrifices? How much stress can a man carry before it starts leaking into everything else? If that's you, hear this clearly. You're not failing. You're operating inside a system that has quietly shifted the rules in favor of people who already have leverage. The dream didn't die. It got priced out. It got bureaucratized. It got turned into a subscription you keep paying for while the quality drops. But what if the American dream isn't gone? What if it moved? Not in a dramatic, headline-grabbing way. In a quiet way. In the way smart people move. The way families move when they stop arguing with reality and start choosing it. It moved to places where your income has room to breathe. Where stability isn't a luxury product. Where schools are still allowed to be proud of themselves. Where safe means you actually feel safe, not just because you installed more cameras. This is 2026, and across the country, there are cities that are rebuilding the fundamentals. Housing that doesn't punish you. Schools that don't feel like survival. Parks that are used. Sidewalks that aren't just decoration. Job markets that don't require you to cosplay as a tech billionaire. You don't need to chase coastlines. You don't need to buy into the myth that the only way to make it is to live where it costs the most to exist. You just need to know where to look, what to measure, and what to stop tolerating. Because if you're a father, a future father, a man with people counting on him, you don't get points for suffering in the wrong zip code. You get results for choosing the right environment. Not perfect, just aligned. Here's what matters when you're picking a place to build a life. 1. Housing that matches reality. Not just the sticker price, but the taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, the hidden fees, the constant sense that you're one surprise away from falling behind. 2. Schools that are functional, not frantic. Teacher turnover, class sizes, programs that actually exist, and a culture that expects kids to succeed instead of just manage. 3. Safety that's built into the community. Not fear-based, not punitive. Real stability, predictable streets, engaged adults, systems that catch problems early. 4. Work that doesn't eat your soul. A local economy with more than one employer worth having, where you can pivot without detonating your family's life. 5. A daily rhythm that helps you become your best self. Commutes, green space, access to healthcare. Third, places that aren't just bars and big box stores. Now let's talk about 15 places where those fundamentals are being taken seriously. These aren't fantasy towns. They're real cities where families are quietly winning again. Not because life is easy, because the math works. 15 cities where the American dream still feels real. 15, Madison, Wisconsin. Madison doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't need to. It's the kind of place that looks modest on paper until you spend a morning there and realize what you've been missing. Calm. Lakefront paths that are actually used. Neighborhoods where kids bike to parks without parents feeling like they're rolling dice. A civic culture that invests in public spaces because it understands something basic. If families can breathe, they can build. Housing, by today's standards, stays within striking distance for normal earners compared to the pressure cooker metros. The bigger advantage is how the city feels designed for real life. Good libraries, strong local institutions, and a steady pipeline of work connected to research, healthcare, and education. And here's a point men understand immediately. Madison gives you margin. Margin in your schedule, margin in your budget, margin in your nervous system. You're not spending every week recovering from your own life. 14. Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha's strength is that it doesn't perform. It produces. It runs on insurance, logistics, finance, and a quiet seriousness about work. People show up. They do the job. They raise their kids. They don't need to tell the internet about it. Housing costs are still grounded compared to most cities with similar amenities. The layout favors neighborhoods that feel stable, not constantly in flux. And because the city isn't built on hype, it's less vulnerable to the kind of whiplash you see in boom and bust markets. Omaha also has something underrated, a culture of apprenticeship without calling it that. Trades are respected. Technical career paths are visible. For a kid who learns best by doing, that matters. For a father who wants his son or daughter to have options beyond go into debt and hope, that matters even more. 13. Raleigh, North Carolina. Raleigh is what happens when a place grows without completely losing its mind. It's not just another tech city. It's a network. Research, universities, healthcare, biotech, engineering, and startups that actually hire locally instead of importing an entire workforce and pushing everyone else out. The real win here is optionality. If you're a man trying to provide, optionality is safety. It means if one job goes sideways, your family doesn't have to panic. It means you can move within an ecosystem, not start over from scratch. Raleigh also has the kind of infrastructure that supports family life. Parks, greenways, neighborhoods with actual community routines. When a city has places to walk, places for kids to be kids, places for adults to exist without spending money, it reduces pressure in the home. That's not poetic, it's practical. 12. Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach has a reputation as a vacation spot, but the real story is structure. Military influence brings a certain seriousness to how systems run. Logistics, planning, accountability. It's not perfect, but there's often a clearer sense of order than you find in cities where governance feels like a constant argument. It's also a place where outdoor life is not a luxury hobby. The ocean changes the rhythm. Families spend time outside. People move their bodies. Kids have room to burn energy. That matters for mental health, for attention, for stress. If you're raising a family and you want a place that feels both active and anchored, Virginia Beach can be that. It's not trying to be trendy. It's trying to work. 11. Boise, Idaho. Boise is often described as mountains and lifestyle, but that's only half the advantage. The real advantage is that Boise offers many families something rare, a sense that you can still climb, not just financially, but socially. You can get involved. You can matter in your community. You can build a network without being rich first. It's a city where outdoors is built into routine, not reserved for weekends. That can sound like marketing until you realize what it does. It pulls families out of the house, reduces screen gravity, and gives kids healthier outlets. Boise has grown, and growth comes with friction, but it still offers a version of the West where daily life feels less cramped. If your current city feels like it's pressing down on your chest, Boise can feel like air. 10. Des Moines, Iowa. Des Moines is not flashy. It's functional. That's why it works. It has a serious base of employment across insurance, finance, healthcare, and a growing layer of tech and analytics. The cost structure, compared to larger metros, often gives families something more valuable than a bigger house: stability without constant anxiety. In Des Moines, you can still find neighborhoods where a normal family budget can support a normal family life. And that's a big deal because when housing stops being a crisis, everything else gets easier. Saving, investing, planning, sleeping. If you're the guy who carries the mental load of how do we keep this going, Des Moines is the kind of place that lowers the volume. 9. Chattanooga. Tennessee, Chattanooga is a comeback story, but not the fake kind. The kind built from infrastructure and intent. It's a city that learned how to use its geography instead of being trapped by it. Riverfront, trails, access to mountains, and a growing ecosystem of remote work and small business activity. It also has an identity, which is rare. When a city knows what it is, it can build policies and culture around that identity. Chattanooga's identity is resilience, old industrial bones, new energy, and a focus on quality of life that doesn't require you to be wealthy. For families, that translates to a city with momentum, but not chaos. A place where you can participate in the rebuild instead of just paying to watch someone else benefit. 8. Plano, Texas. Plano is engineered, and you can feel it. This is not an accident of history city. It's designed around family logistics, schools, parks, roads, services. That design can feel sterile to some people, but for a man trying to raise kids with fewer surprises, predictable is not an insult. It's peace. Plano sits inside an economy with real corporate presence, meaning job options and career mobility without needing to relocate across the country. And because Texas has its own trade-offs, families often choose Plano specifically for the balance. Access to high-wage employment, newer infrastructure, and neighborhoods that take safety and school performance seriously. You move to Plano when you want systems that function, not vibes. 7. Fort Collins. Colorado Fort Collins has a reputation as a college town, but what makes it powerful for families is the culture. Health, outdoors, education, and community participation. There's something about a place where people are regularly outside that changes how kids grow up. They move more. They socialize differently. They build confidence in real-world environments, not just online. Fort Collins also benefits from the stability of higher education and research-adjacent work. That creates a baseline of employment and civic investment that protects the city from extreme swings. It's not the cheapest place on this list, but it offers a different kind of value. A lifestyle that supports long-term health and a community standard that expects public spaces and schools to be maintained. 6. Overland Park, Kansas. Overland Park is one of those places people underestimate until they live there. It offers strong neighborhood stability, a family-focused civic culture, and a cost-to-quality ratio that still makes sense. It also benefits from proximity to a larger metro while maintaining its own identity and calmer day-to-day feel. The real strength here is how it supports the basics: schools that are taken seriously, parks that are maintained, and neighborhoods that don't feel like they're one news cycle away from instability. If you want a place where your kids can build friendships that last, and where your home feels like a base instead of a burden, Overland Park makes a strong case. 5. Ann Arbor, Michigan. Ann Arbor is not just good schools, it's a city shaped by education. That matters because when a city's identity is built around learning and research, it tends to invest in the long term. Libraries, enrichment programs, public events, community standards that attract involved families. Ann Arbor isn't cheap, but it often provides something many expensive places fail to deliver: visible return on what you pay, not just in prestige, but in real opportunities for kids, exposure to ideas, and a culture where curiosity is normal. For parents, that translates into a different kind of upbringing. Your child grows up around people building things, studying things, improving things. That environment is a multiplier. 4. Cary, North Carolina. Cary is what happens when a place decides to prioritize family quality of life and then actually follows through. It's known for safety, strong schools, and a level of municipal organization that reduces friction in daily life. That sounds boring until you realize how much stress is created by friction. The commute, the chaos, the constant little failures of systems. Cary is close enough to major employment hubs to provide opportunity without forcing families to live in the center of the storm. For men who want to build quietly, steadily, and with intention, Cary can feel like a cheat code. It's the kind of place where you can focus on being a father, not a firefighter. 3. Irvine, California. Irvine is misunderstood because people hear California and assume the story is only cost. Yes, it's expensive, but Irvine's reputation comes from something more specific: planning, safety, and access to high-quality institutions. The city structure, the parks, the schools, and the broader economic ecosystem create a controlled environment compared to many other large cities. For a certain kind of family, especially those with strong earning potential and a desire for stability inside a high opportunity region, Irvine offers an unusual combination: strong systems and strong networks. It's not a place you move to for charm. You move there for predictability, access, and a long runway for your kids. 2. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Sioux Falls proves something important. You don't need a megacity to raise kids well. It offers a steadier pace and a community culture that often feels more connected than what you get in anonymous metros. The job market is driven by healthcare, finance, and regional services, which tends to be more stable than industries built on hype cycles. Families choose Sioux Falls because it's manageable. Commutes are reasonable. Neighborhoods feel navigable. Kids can still grow up with the kind of independence that has become rare: walking, biking, being part of the community. If you want a life that feels grounded, where you can actually show up for your family instead of constantly grinding to afford your own existence, Sioux Falls is worth serious attention. 1. Frisco, Texas. Frisco is not subtle. It's intentional growth with a clear agenda. Become a destination for families who want top-tier schools, high-wage jobs, and modern infrastructure. It sits in the orbit of major corporate expansion, meaning job opportunities, upward mobility, and a steady stream of new development. Schools are a major draw, and the city has built a reputation around supporting family life with facilities, programs, and planning. Is it perfect? No city is. But Frisco represents a modern version of the American dream: high opportunity, structured growth, and communities built around participation. It's the kind of place where families don't just live near each other. They interact through schools, sports, local events, and routines that create social glue. It's number 1 on this list Because it reflects a larger truth. When a city designs around families instead of treating them as an afterthought, everything improves. What this list really means. These cities aren't magic. They're proof of concept. Proof that your life doesn't have to be a constant financial knife fight. Proof that stability is still possible. Proof that the American dream still exists when the fundamentals are respected. And here's the part that matters most, especially if you're a man who takes responsibility seriously. Your family's future is not just a function of your work ethic, it's a function of your environment. You can be disciplined and still drown in the wrong place. You can do everything right and still lose ground if the local math is broken. At a certain point, grinding harder isn't noble. It's inefficient. The smartest men don't just work hard. They position hard. They choose places where their effort multiplies instead of evaporating. So don't wait for a sign. If one of these cities hits you in the chest, take it seriously. Visit for a weekend like you mean it. Wake up early and drive through neighborhoods. Go to a grocery store. Walk a park. Sit in a coffee shop and listen to how people talk. Look at the schools, not the marketing. Look at the condition of the streets, not the slogans. Talk to parents. Talk to a local barber. Talk to a realtor who doesn't sell dreams, just facts. Ask what people complain about. That will tell you more than any brochure. Because the right city isn't the one you're told to want. It's the one that lets your family breathe. And when your family can breathe, you can build. Not someday. Now.